The silence of space always felt heavy. Out here, among drifting rocks and forgotten wreckage, Ethan Cross felt both free and lonely. His small repair vessel, Wanderer, glided slowly through the asteroid belt. It was supposed to be a routine job scan for old mining drones or cargo pods, salvage what was useful, and sell it for credits. But today felt different. The sensors flickered, showing an unusual energy signature ahead. Ethan frowned, leaning closer to the console. It wasn't like any human ship. The readings were strange, almost live. He adjusted course carefully, weaving through jagged asteroids until the object came into view. What he saw made him forget. To breathe, it was a ship, but nothing like the bulky human crafts he knew. It was sleek and curved like a giant silver wing, with glowing veins of blue light running along its surface. Parts of it were torn open, exposing smooth inner layers that shimmered faintly. Sparks floated out slowly in the vacuum, disappearing like fireflies. The vessel wasn't just damaged, it was dying. "Whoa," Ethan whispered to himself. "What are you?" He hesitated. Common sense screamed at him to leave. An unknown alien ship meant unknown dangers. It could be radioactive. It could have. Defense is still active, and if someone owned it, salvaging it could be considered theft, or worse. It's an act of war. But something tugged at him. Through the cracked hull, he saw faint lights flickering inside. It wasn't abandoned. Something or someone was still alive in there. Ethan chewed his lip. He thought about turning away. But deep down, he knew he couldn't. He wasn't the kind of man to leave someone stranded, no matter who or what they. I guess we're doing this," he muttered. He guided the Wanderer closer, gauging the magnetic clamps to attach to the alien ship's side. The airlock hissed as it connected. Ethan suited up, his heart thudding in his chest. With a deep breath, he stepped into the unknown. The interior was dim, bathed in soft blue light. The walls were smooth and organic-looking, as if they were grown rather than built. It felt alive, almost like stepping inside a giant creature. Ethan's boots echoed faintly as he walked down a narrow corridor. "Hello," he called out, his voice shaky inside the helmet. No answer. Deeper inside, he found what looked like a control room. Panels flickered weakly. A faint humming came from the center of the room, where a cracked sphere pulsed with dim light. It was some kind of a I-core, struggling to stay active. Suddenly, a faint hologram flickered in front of him, showed a tall, slender alien figure female. From the looks of it lying motionless inside what appeared to be a stasis chamber. The projection was blurry, glitching in and out, but her form was graceful. It's almost royal. Then a voice, weak and broken, echoed through his suit comes. "Vital systems. Failing. Assistance." Required. Ethan froze. His mouth went dry. The AI was trying to communicate. He stepped closer. "You're in trouble, huh?" he said softly, "and I'll try to help." The AI flickered again, showing damage reports. Life support was nearly gone. Power reserves were critical. Whoever was inside that chamber didn't have much time. Ethan's instincts kicked in. He didn't know alien tech, but he understood. Machines, he could at least try. Found a damaged conduit sparking with blue energy. Carefully, he pulled out a repair kit, his fingers trembling as he worked. He kept glancing at the flickering hologram of the alien woman. Even through the blur, she looked important. Something about her posture, her presence, felt like more than just another passenger. But there was no time to think about that now. Sweat dripped down his face inside the suit. One wrong move, and he could fry the entire system more himself. But he kept going, reconnecting cables, sealing breaches with quick patches, and rerouting what little power he could spare from his own ship. Minutes turned into hours. Finally, the light steadied. The AI core stopped flickering and pulsed brighter. A calm but urgent voice filled the room. Life support stabilized. Stasis chamber unlocking. Ethan exhaled in relief, leaning back. He had done it. He had saved whoever she was. But as the chamber began to open, releasing a faint mist, strange feeling crept into his chest. He had no idea that this moment would change his life and humanity's future forever. A thin mist curled out from the stasis chamber, swirling like ghostly smoke in the dim light. Ethan stepped back instinctively, unsure of what would come out. His breath felt heavy inside his helmet as he waited. The chamber hissed softly, its smooth surface splitting open like petals of a flower. Inside, a figure lay still. She was breathtaking, tall and slender, with pale silvery skin that seemed to glow faintly. Her hair wore what looked like it flowed like liquid metal around her delicate face. Even in unconsciousness, she radiated something Ethan couldn't explain. Not just beauty, but a sense of importance, of power held in silence. She was no ordinary alien. Ethan's heart thudded in his chest. He'd seen strange things in his life as a salvage engineer, abandoned stations, derelict ships, even some old alien ruins. But never a living being like this. "Hey," he whispered softly, even though he knew she couldn't hear him. "You're okay now. You're safe." The AI core flickered again. His voice was weak but clearer this time. Vital signs stable, awakening in progress. Her chest rose faintly then again. She was breathing. Slowly, her silver eyes fluttered. Open. They glowed faintly, reflecting the soft blue light of the room. For a moment, confusion filled her gaze. Then those strange, beautiful eyes locked onto Ethan. He froze. It was like being seen through completely. Her gaze wasn't hostile, but it was deep, searching. As if she was trying to understand who or what he was. She tried to speak. Sound was soft, melodic, like music he couldn't quite recognize. But he didn't understand the words. The AI translated, its voice stuttering with glitches. "You saved me." "Human." Ethan swallowed hard. Yeah, we're in trouble. I just fixed what I could." The alien woman blinked slowly. Her expression shifted, confusion softened into something like surprise and maybe gratitude. But her body was weak. She tried to sit up, then collapsed back into the chamber. "Hey, don't push yourself," Ethan said gently. He didn't know why, but he wanted to reassure her. "You need rest. It's okay, you're safe now." The ship around them gave a faint shudder. Systems were still failing. Ethan looked around. Life support was barely running, and the power reserves wouldn't last long. "Great," he muttered. "One problem solved, 10 more waiting." He grabbed his toolkit again and started working on the next critical system. He patched leaking conduits, rerouted power from the non-essential sections, and linked his own ship's generator to the alien vessel. As he worked, he kept glancing at her. She watched him silently. Even weak and exhausted, her presence filled the room. There was no fear in her eyes, only curiosity. And something else he couldn't name. The AI flickered once more. Priority message. Must reach. Royal Fleet. Before then it cut out. Royal Fleet. Ethan echoed aloud. "Wait, you're important, aren't you?" The alien woman closed her eyes briefly, as if gathering strength. Then, with visible effort, she whispered a single word. It was a name or maybe a title. The translation, and his helmet came a second later. Queen Alira. Ethan froze. His stomach dropped. He hadn't just rescued a random alien traveler. He had saved their queen. He stared at her, realization hitting like a shockwave. A queen meant power, politics, entire civilizations. If she was here, alone and injured, something terrible must have happened. Before he could process it, the ship trembled again. This time it wasn't a malfunction. Sensors beeped on his wrist, displaced something was approaching fast. Illyra's eyes widened faintly. She whispered another word. The translation came through shakily. "They are coming." Ethan's blood ran cold. Whoever had attacked her before, they weren't finished. The ship's soft blue lights flickered violently as the sensors screamed in warning. Ethan's wrist display showed 3 fast-moving signals closing in. He didn't recognize the patterns, but he didn't have to. Whoever they were, they weren't friendly. He glanced at the alien queen. She was still weak, barely able to keep her eyes open, yet there was fear in them now. "Who's coming?" Ethan asked, his voice tense. "Enemies?" Her lips moved softly. The AI struggled to translate but finally managed. Assassins. Today will not stop. Ethan cursed under his breath. Of course. She hadn't just been in an accident. Someone had attacked her. Now they were back to finish the job. The small repair ship he docked with wasn't designed for combat. It had no heavy weapons, no shields strong enough to resist an ambush. He was just one man with a toolkit and a stubborn sense of responsibility, but he couldn't leave her. "All right," he muttered to himself, forcing his mind to focus. "Think, Ethan. Think." He rushed to the alien control console. Half the systems were still offline, but a few defense protocols were buried in the interface. He couldn't read the alien symbols, but he trusted his instincts as an engineer. With some quick wiring and a little guesswork, he managed to power up a faint energy field around the ship, a weak shield. "It's but better than nothing." The AI spoke again, faint and strained. "Vessel cannot withstand combat. Recommend evacuation." Evacuation? To where? They were in the middle of an asteroid belt with nowhere to run. "No," Ethan whispered firmly. "I'm not abandoning her." He looked back at Alira. She was watching him silently, her silver eyes calm despite the danger. For a brief moment, he saw something in her gaze trust. As if she believed, somehow, that this strange human wouldn't fail her. That was enough to make him push harder. He hurried to the docking bridge connecting his small ship to hers. Maybe if he transferred her to the Wanderer they could slip away quietly before the attackers reached them. But as he checked the scanners again, his heart sank. Too late, through the cracked viewport. Dark shapes emerged from the shadows of the asteroids. Sleek black ships with jagged edges circled slowly, like predators. Their lights glowed a dull red. Even from a distance, they looked deadly. The AI whispered, "Enemy craft identified. Hostile class. Lethal." Ethan clenched his fists. He had no weapons that could match those. If they fired, he wouldn't even have time to react. But then, an idea sparked in his mind. It was crazy. It was risky. But it was all he had. He rushed back into the alien vessel and started tearing open a damaged conduit. "If I can overload the energy core," he thought aloud, "I might create an EMP pulse. Fry their sensors for a few seconds. It won't destroy them, but it might buy us time to escape." His hands moved quickly, connecting human wires to alien circuits, merging to technologies that were never meant to meet. Sparks flew. The humming of the core grew louder. Behind him, Alira spoke softly, her voice weak, but steady. The AI translated, "You risk your life." "For me?" Ethan didn't look up. "Yeah, well, I'm not the kind of guy who leaves someone to die. Royalty or not." She stared at him for a moment, silent. Then her lips curved faintly, a small, tired smile. The warning alarms on his wrist beeped louder. The enemy ships were locking onto them. "Almost there," Ethan whispered. He twisted one final wire. A blinding surge of blue light shot through the alien vessel. The entire ship shuddered violently. For a second, everything went dark. Then, outside, the enemy ships faltered. Their red lights flickered. Their formation broke. Just as Ethan hoped, the EMP pulse confused their systems temporarily. "That's it! We've got a window," Ethan shouted. He ran to the docking bridge, powering up the Wanderer's engines. He carefully lifted the weakened queen from the stasis chamber, cradling her weightless body in his arms. She was lighter than he expected, delicate yet strong. As he carried her, she whispered a single word. The translation came softly. "Grateful." Ethan managed a small smile despite the fear pounding in his chest. "Save it for later. Right now, we need to stay alive." He secured her inside his ship, disengaged the docking clamps, and fired the thrusters. The Wanderer pulled away just as the enemy ships regained control, chasing them. The narrow asteroid belt became a deadly maze. Ethan gripped the controls tightly, weaving between jagged rocks, dodging enemy fire that lit up the darkness like red lightning. He wasn't a soldier. He wasn't a hero. He was just a repairman trying to do the right thing. But now, with an alien queen depending on him, He couldn't afford to fail. The Wanderer shook violently as Ethan twisted the controls, narrowly dodging another chunk of asteroid. Behind them, the enemy ships fired pulse after pulse, the red beams slicing through space. Hulls scream in protest. "Come on, hold together," he muttered, his knuckles white on the flight sticks. Beside him, strapped into the co-pilot's seat, the alien queen stirred. Her silver eyes fluttered open again, weak but aware. She turned her head slightly, looking out the small viewport at the chaos behind them. Ethan glanced at her quickly. "You're awake?" "Good, bad news, though. We've got company, and they're not in the mood to talk." She said something soft and melodic. The AI translator clipped onto Ethan's suit, translated faintly over the hum of the engines. "You fight for me, even though you do not know who I am." Ethan let out a short, humorless laugh. "Yeah, well, I'm not really the type to let someone get blown up if I can help it. That's all you need to know right now." She watched him. Quietly, her glowing eyes unreadable. It was as if she was used to being hunted. Another blast rocked the ship, snapping Ethan out of the brief silence. He gritted his teeth and dove into a narrow gap between two massive rocks. The enemy ships followed, but had to slow down, giving him a few seconds to breathe. "Okay," he said, breathing hard. "We've bought a little time, but I need answers. Who are they? Why are they trying to kill you?" The queen closed her eyes for a moment, as if gathering strength. Then she spoke softly. "They are my betrayers, shadows of my own court. They seek the throne." Ethan blinked. "Throne," the AI clarified. "She is Alira. The Zyran Empire. Last of the first lineage. The queen of 1,000 worlds." The words hit Ethan like a punch. He looked at her in disbelief. "You're telling me you're the actual queen? Like the queen of your entire civilization?" She nodded faintly, her gaze steady. For a moment, Ethan didn't know what to say. It was just a salvage engineer scraping by in the outskirts of human space. And now he was sitting next to an alien queen whose enemies were powerful enough to cross half the galaxy just to kill her. "Great," he muttered. "Just my luck." The queen's voice came again, weaker now. "If they succeed, my people will fall into chaos. War will spread. Many will die." Ethan looked at her. She wasn't just some royal figure with a crown and fancy titles. She was someone carrying the weight of an entire empire on her shoulders. And despite her calm, he saw the faintest trace of sorrow in her eyes. She wasn't afraid for herself. She was afraid for her people. Something tightened in Ethan's chest. He could have turned away, could have dropped her at the nearest station and walked away from this mess. But he knew he wouldn't. "All right, Alira," he said quietly. "We're getting you out of this, somehow." She tilted her head slightly. There was a soft glimmer in her eyes now, something almost like hope. Before he could say more, alarms flared again. The enemy ships had recalibrated and were closing fast. Ethan cursed and slammed the thrusters to maximum, diving deeper into the asteroid field, but they couldn't keep running forever. It's abandoned, but it's got thick plating. You can hide there at least. For a while, he set a course, weaving through the rocks until the dark shape of the derelict station came into view. It was a massive metal skeleton clinging to a lonely asteroid, long forgotten by anyone. Perfect for hiding. As they slipped inside the broken docking bay, Ethan powered down the engines to reduce their signal and sat back, breathing hard. For now, they were safe. Alira looked at him again, her voice softer this time. "You risk much for me, human." "Why?" Ethan rubbed a hand over his tired face and gave her a small, crooked smile. "Because someone had to, and right now, it looks like that someone is me." For the first time, a faint, genuine smile touched her lips. It was small, but it carried a warmth that surprised him. In that quiet moment inside the dark station, Ethan realized this was no longer just about survival. He was part of something bigger now, something that would change both their worlds forever. The derelict mining station was silent, its metal corridors echoing with the faint creaks of age. Ethan powered down the Wanderer completely, leaving only emergency lights glowing dimly. Outside, the enemy ships circled the asteroid like vultures, waiting for a chance to strike. For now, they were hidden. But it wouldn't last. Ethan sat across from Alira in the small cabin of his ship. She was stronger now, the color returning slightly to her silvery skin, but he could still see exhaustion in her eyes. She had been running for far too long. He poured her a cup of water from his emergency rations. She looked at it curiously, then sipped it delicately. "Okay," Ethan said, leaning forward. "I need to know the truth. Why are they after you? And what happens if they win?" Alira's gaze softened. She folded her slender hands in her lap and spoke in her calm, melodic tone. The translator whispered in his ear, "I am Alira Zyron, last sovereign of the first lineage. My empire has stood for 10,000 cycles. But within my court, ambition grew like rot. Those who betrayed me seek the throne not to lead, but to rule with fear." Ethan frowned. "No, they're basically a bunch of power-hungry nobles. Doesn't sound so different from humans." She nodded faintly. "But their hunger will not stop at my empire. If they take power, they will spread war beyond our borders. They will see humanity as weak prey." Ethan's stomach tightened. "So if they kill you, it's not just your people who suffer. It could start a galactic war." Her glowing silver eyes met his. "Yes, my death would open the door for darkness to spread. Millions of worlds would burn." The weight of her words hung heavy in the small cabin. Ethan rubbed his face, trying to process it. He had thought he was just helping someone in trouble. This was bigger than anything he had ever imagined. "So let me get this straight," he said slowly. "Right now I'm sitting on an abandoned station with the queen of one of the most powerful empires in the galaxy, while assassins are circling outside waiting to finish you off. And if I fail, entire civilizations could fall." Alira tilted her head slightly. "That is correct." Ethan let out a short, shaky laugh. "Yeah, just another normal day for me." Despite the grim situation, a faint smile touched Alira's lips. It was small, almost hidden, but it softened her regal features. There was a pause. Then she reached out slowly and touched his hand. Her skin was cool, smooth like polished metal. "You did not have to save me, yet you did. Why?" Stared at her hand on his. For a moment, he didn't know how to answer. Then he shrugged lightly. Because it was the right thing to do. And because he looked at her, his voice quieter now, because no one deserves to be left alone in the dark. Her silver eyes lingered on him, and for the first time the distant royal mask seemed to crack. He saw something more human. In her then loneliness, relief, and maybe even trust. But the moment didn't last. A faint beep from his console broke the silence. Ethan checked the sensors. His heart sank. "They're scanning the station," he muttered. "They're going to find us soon." Lyra straightened slightly, her calm returning like a shield. "If they find us, you must leave me here." "Want me, not you." Ethan turned to her sharply. "Not a chance." "I didn't come this far just to abandon you, Ethan," she said softly, his name strange on her lips. "If you stay, you will die with me. Then I guess we'll die together," he replied firmly. "But I'm not leaving." For the first time, real emotion flickered in her eyes, something like shock and quiet admiration. Before she could respond, the AI spoke in a rushed tone. "Incoming signal, not hostile. Identified as Zyron Royal Fleet." Ethan blinked. "Wait, your people? They found us?" Alira's eyes widened slightly. For the first time since he met her, hope glimmered on her face. "They are loyal. They have come for me." Ethan checked the screen. A group of massive ships was entering the asteroid field, elegant and bright compared to the dark assassins. A rescue. But the assassins outside noticed too. They broke formation, preparing to attack before the loyal fleet could reach them. Ethan cursed under his breath. "Looks like we're about to have one hell of a fight." Alira looked at him calmly, her voice quiet but certain. "Then we face it. Together." Inside the station, the first flashes of battle began to light up the dark. The derelict mining station shook as distant explosions echoed through the asteroid field. Outside, the loyal Zyran fleet arrived in a blaze of shimmering light. Their ships moved with grace and power, cutting through the darkness like stars come alive. Ethan watched the screen nervously. He wasn't a soldier or a diplomat, he was just a salvage engineer. Yet here he was, at the heart of a galactic struggle. The enemy ships, still circling the station, fired warning shots. The loyal fleet responded instantly, their weapons lighting up space in brilliant beams of blue and silver. Inside the cramped cabin, Alira rose unsteadily from her seat. Her silver eyes glimmered with strength regained. "They have come," she said softly, voice steady despite the chaos. "My protectors, my people." Ethan helped her stand, supporting her slight frame. "You'll be safe now," he promised. But deep down he knew the danger wasn't over. As the battle raged outside, a communication channel opened. A commanding voice spoke in the Zyran tongue, stern but respectful. The AI translated immediately. "Queen Alira, you are found. We have arrived to escort you safely." Alira's eyes flicked to Ethan, and something unspoken passed between them. "I am grateful for your courage, human," she said quietly. "You risked your life for me. The court will remember this." Ethan shook his head. "I didn't do it for titles or thanks. I did it because it was right, because no one deserves to be left alone." The Zyran commander's voice came again. "The queen must return to the capital immediately. It is dangerous here." But Alira hesitated, looking at Ethan. "I will not leave without him." The AI translated her words, and Ethan's heart skipped. He wasn't sure what he'd expected. Maybe she'd send him away, tell him to stay safe, while she returned to her empire. But instead, she wanted him by her side. The commander replied firmly, "That is not protocol. No outsider may accompany the sovereign." Ethan clenched his fists, frustration boiling inside him. Protocol or not. "I'm coming with her," he said, voice steady. "She saved my life too, in a way. We're in this together." There was a tense silence. Then, surprisingly, the AI spoke again. Her choice. "The court will accept the human protector as an honored guest. For now." Ethan looked at Alira, who smiled faintly. It wasn't a grand smile, but it held warmth and trust. "You are more than a stranger now, Ethan," she said softly. "You are my protector." As the loyal fleet prepared to dock and bring them aboard the flagship, Ethan felt a mixture of fear and awe. He was a simple man thrust into a world of empires and politics, war and loyalty. But he wasn't alone. Together, they would face what came next. Outside, the battle continued. The enemy was fierce, but the Zyran fleet was stronger. Explosions lit the void, and stars seemed to shimmer with the weight of destiny. Ethan tightened his grip on the armrest, glancing at Alira. Her eyes met his, steady and sure. Whatever the future held, he would stand by her side, because sometimes being human meant more than just survival. It meant courage, loyalty, and hope. The grand flagship of the Zyran fleet hummed softly as it glided through the stars, a beacon of power and hope. Inside its gleaming halls, Ethan stood quietly, feeling like a small speck in a vast universe he barely understood. Yet beside him, Queen Alira moved with the grace and strength that had saved her people before, and now seemed to anchor his own courage. Ethan's heart still raced from the recent battles and narrow escapes. He looked at her, still recovering, but no longer the fragile figure he first found in that silent stasis pod. She had grown stronger, and so had their connection. Words weren't always needed. Sometimes a look or a gesture said everything. Alira's silver eyes met his, warm and steady. "You've given me hope, Ethan," she said softly through the translator. "Hope that our worlds can find peace." Ethan smiled, the tension easing from his shoulders. "I never thought my small act would mean so much," he replied. "But maybe that's what humans do, we try to help, even when the odds are against us." The Queen nodded. "Your courage has changed more than you realize. The Zyran Empire has been watching humanity for cycles, often with suspicion. But your bravery speaks louder than any words." Ethan felt a strange pride swell inside. Him, mixed with a deep responsibility. This was bigger than just him or the Queen. It was about two worlds standing together against darkness as they walked through the ship's halls. The sounds of the fleet surrounded them, crew members busy preparing for what lay ahead. Holographic maps flickering with star systems and distant echoes of strategy meetings. Alira led Ethan to a chamber decorated with intricate designs, where ambassadors from her empire awaited there. Ethan was introduced not just as a guest, but as a symbol, a bridge between humans and the Zyran. Many eyes looked at him with curiosity, some with respect, others with quiet skepticism. But the Queen's steady presence beside him silenced doubt. Later, as the day turned to the quiet of space night, Ethan found himself on the observation deck, staring out at the stars. The vastness of the galaxy was humbling, yet it felt less lonely now. Alira joined him, her voice gentle. The future is uncertain, but together we can face it. Your people and mine. Ethan looked at her, feeling a newfound strength. Whatever comes, I'll stand by you, she smiled. A real smile, full of warmth, and I buy you. In that moment, between two very different beings, a new bond was forged. It was not just of duty or politics, but of trust, respect, and something deeper hope. The galaxy outside was still full of dangers, and enemies lurked in shadows. But Ethan and Alira were ready. Together, they would face the challenges ahead, shaping a future neither world could have imagined alone. And somewhere deep inside, Ethan knew this was only the beginning of their story, a story of courage, friendship, and the power of one human's choice to reach out and change the stars.